Speaking of the governor, here he is today.
Led. I am livid about what happened. I was on this very stage 2 days ago, and I was telling the public information that had been told to me in a room just a few yards behind where we're located right now. I wrote down hand notes in detail about what everybody in that room told me in sequential order about what happened. And when I came out here on this stage and told the public what happened, it was a recitation of what people in that room told me, whether it be law enforcement officials or non-law enforcement officials, whatever the case may be. And as everybody has learned, the information that I was given turned out in part to be inaccurate. And I'm absolutely livid about that. And here's my expectation. My expectation is that the law enforcement leaders that are leading the investigations, which includes the Texas Rangers and the FBI, they get to the bottom of every fact with absolute certainty. There are people who deserve answers the most, and those are the families whose lives have been destroyed. They need answers that are accurate, and it is inexcusable.
All right, that was the governor clearly angry here about what he had been told. He went on national television and praised law enforcement, and undoubtedly there were a number of especially federal agents who came here off duty and ran in. They were part of the Border Patrol's tactical team and ran into the school. Many of them didn't even have time to put their body armor on, and they were the ones who eventually went in and took the gunman down. I want to bring in Ed Davis, who ran the Boston Police Department during the Marathon bombing. If there's anybody who understands what it is like to make command decisions during an incident, it is him. Bring you in right now. I don't even want to say should the school district police chief still have a job. How long should he still have a job for, and why hasn't he been fired yet?
Those are questions that are unanswerable right now. We've been at this now for 3 days. We got bad information at first. We got the information changing, and now the truth came out. And I give the Colonel McCraw credit for getting up there and telling us exactly what happened, but more importantly, telling the families exactly what happened. But now there has to be follow-up. Governors shouldn't get mad. They should do something. Something needs to be done here. I don't want to rush to judgment. There's investigations that have to be conducted, but the activity, the response at this point in time, from everything that we've heard, is incomprehensible from a professional police perspective. And it's really important to move quickly to do the right thing here and put people in charge of this investigation that were not involved in the response. It needs to be done objectively. We need to get answers, and this is a dark day in the history of policing.
For all of the money spent, for all of the active shooter training situations, the Uvalde City Police Department SWAT team even posted a Facebook picture showing their active shooter training, on and on and on and on. And yet, when it comes down to it, it comes down to one man making a decision under fire, perhaps having never been in combat before. How are parents to feel confident that when they send their kids to school and police respond, they're going to have learned the lessons of Columbine and of Parkland and now of Uvalde?
Those are important points. Parents are not going to feel comfortable until something significant happens. We've been training this up for 20 years. But make no mistake about this. This was not a failure of training. This was a failure of command. There were people there who made decisions that delayed the response, delayed saving children who were wounded, and resulted in more fire being laid down by the suspect. And I don't know how you try to say this was anything but an active shooter when there were active shots being fired. There's no excuse for this. You need to go in. There were windows. There are a bunch of different ways you could do this.
I do at least want to give the incident commander, the chief of police at the school district, his due in the sense of what he told the Texas Rangers. Here's them explaining why he explained to them that he decided that it was no longer an active shooter, but what they call a barricaded suspect. Take a listen.
Sir, you have people who are alive, children who are calling 911 saying, please send the police. They are alive. In that classroom, there are lives that are at risk.
Hey, we're well aware of that.
Right, but yeah. Why was this decision made not to go in and rescue these children?
Again, you know, the on-scene commander considered a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk. Obviously, you know, based upon the information we have, there were children in that classroom that were at risk, and it was, in fact, still an active shooter situation and not a barricaded subject.
Is there any possible explanation for confusing these two? Because if someone's shooting and there's kids inside bleeding out, feels pretty obvious.
Yes, it does. The simple answer to that is this could not have been confusing if there were live rounds being fired inside that school while there were 19 police officers in the hallway. I don't know how, even with the commander in charge, I don't know how you could stop the officers from going in over the demands of the commander not to go in. It's just a bizarre situation. But right now, we can't let the initial information be the final word. We have to find out what's going on here. I always get nervous when responsibility rolls so far downhill and the lowest rung of the responsibility gets to hold the bag on this. So let's find out what the commander knew and when he knew it. Was the communication coming out of the 911 center to that commander? Were there other commanders there from other agencies that could have stepped up? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered here. And I'm not going to vilify anybody. There was heroic police activity that occurred there. And in one thing that happened was that shooter was confined to that classroom. He didn't get into other classrooms. So lives were saved, but the initial response and the initial blush on this is that there were huge mistakes made and some people died as a result of it, and that cannot be acceptable to this nation.
And what an excellent point, that even when we think we have the facts now, to wait for more facts to come out, because we thought we had the facts 2 days ago, and boy, have they changed at this point, and now we have a new focus, and that may not end up being the right one. Sir, it's always good to see you. I appreciate you taking the time on a Friday to be with us. Your expertise is really unparalleled in this, as is your experience.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Good luck out there.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.